Yeah, I'm not feeling. That's right.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We'll determine if a quorum is present. I am present. Councilmember Jeff Perry is absent. Councilmember Matt Jones is present. Councilmember Aaron Allen is present. Councilmember Randy Jones is present, and Councilmember Chuck Black is present. For invocation tonight, we have Mr. Ashlock from New Hope.
Great, thank you. If you would pray with me, please. Father God, we are grateful for this evening and this opportunity to gather here and to have these discussions. And Lord, we thank you for today. We know each new day is a gift from you. God, we also recognize how greatly you've blessed our community, and we ask that you continue to do so. In particular tonight, Lord, we pray that you bless our conversations with grace and peace with each other. But Lord, give us wisdom and give our leaders wisdom as they seek to guide our community into the future and all the good things ahead. Lord, we thank you. Pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Community announcements. Items of community interest may include recognizing citizens and staff for outstanding contributions to the community. A reminder about an upcoming event that's organized or sponsored by the governing body, and announcement of an imminent threat to public safety that's arisen after the posting of this agenda. A few things tonight. If you're on social media, you've probably seen someone use the Operate Cloud hashtag to call attention to a person or an action that benefited someone in Operate or benefited someone outside of Operate. So it was done by one of our. We've taken that publicly created title and made it financial. We will have a nomination process made available in the website. We're gonna start off with the board with someone showing the top of person with through execution. The top of he personally raised $4,865. Received a donation and a thank from additional $25. Bringing a total of $7,365. This open dedication and very hard set an example for the youth and adults. As a mayor, I want to thank his family for setting that example for me to follow. I look forward to seeing what they look most next. You know, you made all regret. Proclamation, whereas addressing the prevention of suicide in communities of children, youth and adults today, is fundamental to the future of the city of Auburn. The citizens of the city of Auburn value their overall health and life. Suicide prevention awareness. Whereas the suicide rate today is zero. Suicide deaths every 2 hours. 10% of the book suicidal thoughts. 1 in 5 seriously thinking about this. 12%. And whereas the need for comprehensive coordinated mental health and suicide prevention services places upon our community as a critical responsibility. There's a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all American communities to better handle challenges and protect their overall health and well-being. And each citizen, local business, school, government agencies, agencies, providers, faith-based organizations shares the weight of suicide concerns that have a responsibility to promote mental wellness, recovery, and support prevention efforts. And whereas the Benton County Behavioral Health Leadership Team, Benton County MHMR Center, Benton County Zero Suicide Task Force, Benton County Lost Team, and Benton Regional Suicide Prevention Coalition are effectively addressing the mental health and suicide prevention needs of children, youth, adults, and families in our community. And it is appropriate that a month should be set apart each year for dedication for the direction of our thoughts towards suicide prevention education and the support of treatment and recovery. And therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Rich, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim September 2023 Suicide Prevention Awareness. Live United Month proclamation. United Way of Denton County celebrates 70 years of impact across Denton County in 2023. And by working together with supporters and collaborators across Denton County, United Way of Denton County improves access to education, economic mobility, and health and mental health for over 42,000 residents. The United Way of Denton County leads the effort to close gaps and open opportunities for every person in Denton County and works with a network of nonprofits, governments, businesses, and donors to respond to our neighbors' immediate needs and seek out better solutions for larger community-wide issues. Therefore, I, Chris Rich, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby declare September 2023 Live United Month.
See that.
Mayor and council members, as some of you are already aware, we passed a milestone on August 1st by hiring our 100th employee. His name is Doug Drogemeyer, and he was hired on August 1st as a maintenance tech in our water department. So in order to honor this milestone, the mayor has a certificate for Doug, if you'll come up. Don, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's Don.
Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm proud tonight to introduce the Aubrey Police Department's Crisis Intervention Program. As I told you when I got hired here, providing exceptional service to the citizens of Aubrey is a priority, and I believe this program is going to do that. The Crisis Intervention Program is responsible for implementing and sustaining the department's response to persons in crisis. The department program consists of a crisis intervention team. The CIT is made up of members of the department who have successfully completed a 40-hour Texas Commission on Law Enforcement approved mental health peace officer program and have been appointed by the department as mental health officers. MHOs are responsible for working with community partners to establish and sustain the department's response to people in crisis. This includes the department's response involving both the MHOs and the officers who are not mental health peace officers. MHOs will primarily respond to in-progress calls when available, conduct outreach with identified individuals, which I think is the most important component of this program. We've always responded, but these officers are going to allow us a process of following up with these individuals to ensure they are getting connected to the services they need. All Aubrey police officers are encouraged to request this training and seek to be appointed as MHOs. Officers wishing to obtain this training will forward a request to us and we'll process it. I'm proud to introduce tonight the first 3 trained MHOs. First is Officer Evan Ishmael. He's been with APD since 2019, is currently assigned to day shift patrol and is an FTO. He desired to become extremely knowledgeable in recognizing when someone is suffering from a mental health crisis and how better to assist them. I think he's going to be an outstanding asset. We have certificates for each of them, recognizing their dedication to the program and as initial appointees to the program. Officer Velvet Brown is next. She's been with APD since 2019. She currently serves as school resource officer at Providence Elementary. She's indicated that she hopes to create a platform of education, disbanding negative stigmas around those with mental health, and she hopes to create a stronger, united community. And what better desire is that? And then finally, we have Officer Dylan Scott. He's been with APD since 2020. Officer Scott is currently assigned to day shift patrol and is also a field training officer. Officer Scott believes people with mental illness, mental health issues need the same world-class police service and community support as every other person under the care of the Aubrey Police Department. And what a great goal for all of us to have. So I'm very encouraged. He's a member of the program. Thank you very much. We look forward to providing advanced care to those we encounter that are in crisis. APD is committed to providing these residents the resources needed for improved quality of life. Thank you very much.
Mayor, one quick announcement. Due to a statutory requirement, the council is scheduled for a special meeting on Saturday morning for your tax levy. We wanted to let everybody know that that meeting is scheduled. It could not be done tonight because of a statutory issue. So you'll be meeting on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. to set the tax levy. You will have a public hearing on your agenda tonight to open and hear from the public.
Any other community announcements? Right, citizen input. Any person may address the city council. If your comments are concerning an agenda item, you may wait till the discussion on that item if you prefer. Once recognized by the mayor, please step forward to the speaker's podium, state your name and address, and speak directly into the microphone so that people in the room and those attending remotely can hear comments and see presentations. To request to speak via video conference, click on the participants at the bottom of the screen and click raise hand. The mayor will acknowledge a request and allow you to speak. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual unless additional time is otherwise required by law. No discussion or action may be taken at this meeting on any item not listed on the agenda, other than to make statements of factual information or cite existing policy in response to a citizen. Yeah, Connie Barnett. Okay. Art. Rivali.
I'm just the immediate neighbor of Kinney Land development that's happening. This is not any concern or anything, but I just want more clarification. Is there any, since we don't have the layout of the upcoming plan there, just want to find out if they are planning to build any like a wall or a tree line or something that separates our lot from theirs. So just I'm not sure if this is the right meeting to ask this question, but just thought I'll just find out more detail on it. So.
Somebody get something to her later.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, consent items, items placed on the consent agenda are considered routine in nature and non-controversial. The consent agenda can be acted upon in one motion. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by the request of council members or staff. Consideration and action on the following. Minutes of the following city council meetings, July 27th, 2023, and August 3rd, 2023. Staff report, monthly financial report, a revised final plat of Sandrock Ranch, phase 10B, being 18.868 acres out of the Frederick H. Pollard Survey, abstract number 995, Denton County, Texas, located east of the city of Aubrey and Woodland Creek, west of FM 1385, south of Spring Hill Road, and north of Frontier Parkway and Aubrey EPJ. A revised final plat of Sandrock Ranch, phase 11B, being 12.891 acres out of the William Lumpkin Survey, abstract number 730, Denton County, Texas, located east of the city of Aubrey and Little Elm Creek, west of FM 1385, south of Spring Hill Road, and north of Frontier Parkway and Aubrey EPJ. An ordinance approving a settlement between Atmos City Steering Committee and Atmos Energy Corp. Mid-Tex Division regarding the company's 2023 rate review mechanism filings and adopting tariffs that reflect the rate adjustments. A resolution suspending the September 1st, 2023 effective date of CoServe Gas Ltd's requested rate change to permit the city time to study the request and to establish reasonable rate and providing an effective date. A resolution appointing members to serve as the city designee and alternate for communications with special districts. An ordinance amending chapter 12, traffic and vehicles, division 2, speed limits of the code of ordinances regulating prima facie speed limits and on Windridge Boulevard, providing a penalty for violation and providing an effective date. Donation of City of Aubrey radar equipment to the City of Pilot Point Police Department. An interlocal cooperation agreement with Denton County for public improvement assessment collection for the Aubrey Public Improvement District Number 1. A 5-year renewal of the water tower use license agreement with Speed of Light broadband. And change order number 2 for Raymar Construction for a credit for the SCBA unit in the amount of $6,423.70.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Motion by Chuck, second by Matt, all in favor? 4-0. New business, new items previously requested by council members, staff, or citizens for consideration by the city council. Consideration and action on a site plan revision for Aubrey High School with a variance to the mechanical equipment screening requirement in section 23F6D3 of the zoning ordinance. The site being located at the southeast corner of Spring Hill Road and Highway 377.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm gonna thank you. There we go. Okay, so tonight, this evening, I'm going to be presenting to you all a request from Aubrey ISD for a variance to the rooftop mechanical equipment screening department. So to orient you all to the site, the area where the dot is at is the area that they're going to be expanding for the high school. And this is also the area that we're really concerned with in terms of where the mechanical equipment is going to be located on those particular buildings. And so around the site, you can see to the north is the High Point Ranch development. We'll be also looking at that later on tonight. To the east of the site is single family agriculture. To the south of the site is actually part of the school. It's the stadium area. And then south of that, of course, are the apartments. And then to the west is a mixture, different uses. There's also storage and single family on that side of the site. And so what we're showing you here, the area that is here to your north, these are renderings that the school put together to give you an idea of generally what that building will look like when they add on those additions. And then the area that's in the cloud are showing you the rooftop equipments. And what they also did is they're showing you generally what that view looks like the further you get away from the site. And so specifically what the requirement is whenever there's rooftop equipment, it needs to be screened from right of way. So of course, that would be Spring Hill Road to your north, and then also from adjacent residential property. And we looked at that being to your east and to your west of the site. And what that screening must look like is it has to be a solid masonry wall that is 1 foot higher than the mechanical equipment. And so what they've done on this plan is they're showing you basically what those sight lines would look like from where that mechanical equipment would be placed. So what I want to do is go back again, just to orient you to everything around it. So what they're trying to screen is Spring Hill Road to the north again, as well as the single family to the east and west. So you as city council and then P&Z can also recommend a variance to that requirement for them to have the masonry wall be 1 foot taller. What they're saying is they're going to have a masonry wall that, basically is a parapet, but it will not be 1 foot higher so basically that equipment will be a little bit under 2 feet taller than what the parapet wall is. And so you as the city council can grant them this variance. And these are the different factors that the city council can consider when determining whether or not to grant that variance. So Planning and Zoning Commission did review this request 2 weeks ago. And so based upon the surrounding development, as well as these sight lines, basically what they're looking at, where those sight lines are in is what you would see, which you would not be able to see the top of those parapet walls from the end of those sight lines. So based upon those considerations, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 5-0-0. And so these are, potential motions, actions for you tonight. So you can move to approve it. You can approve it with, some changes, or you can deny it, or then of course table it to a specific date in the future. So I'm gonna go back.
The reason why they don't want to go a foot above, is it a cost?
So, and
Or
do we have, yes.
Hi, my name is Luke Powell with Huckabee Architects. The reason is cost. We are meeting the intent of that ordinance of not being able to see that rooftop equipment without raising it above you would have to increase another 4 to 5 feet in order to cover that equipment to go 1 foot above. And so just in interest of taxpayer dollars and to put money more into the school rather than the parapet wall. And that we're meeting that intent of not seeing the equipment. That was the request for the variance.
And then from the multifamily, the apartment complex, well, they'll be able to see it, right? Because it's a 3-foot story building, I think, over there.
On the back side.
Yeah.
Up on the 3rd floor. Yes, potentially you'd be able to see it. The way that the variance is written is from the right of way. From the property line, which is at grade. So the images that we took are from about eye level at property line or at grade around the site.
Rich, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to grant variance.
Second. Motion by Matt, second by Chuck. All right. What is it?
My note on that is if it's not safety related or education related, the save the money.
Thank you.
All right, consideration action on a site plan for lot 1, block C. Pine Ridge Pavilion Addition, phase 2, located west of the high school at the southeast corner of the intersection of US 377 and Pine Ridge Road within the city of Aubrey, Texas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, the request is for you to review and approve a site plan for a commercial development that is west of the high school at the southeast corner of the intersection between US 377 and Pine Ridge Road. So we have a Denton CAD map here that will show you the location of the property. And so you can see where it is in relation to the high school, and it's along US 377. And we have the zoning map, which if you, sadly, I can't zoom in, but you can see the property right there in red, and it is in the commercial zoning district. And your zoning ordinance requires that before receipt of a building permit, properties greater than 1 acre or within 200 feet of a single family platted development shall have their site plans reviewed by planning and zoning and city council. So this meets both of those conditions. The applicant has provided all required site plan information. We have a copy of the plat. It was platted in May of 2015, and it is 1.702 acres, about 12,780 square feet. The proposed 1-story building will cover 12,780 square feet and will have a lot coverage of 17.24% and provides 39 parking spaces for the retail use and 31 parking spaces for restaurant use. So here's the proposed one of many pages of the site plan. So we have a total of approximately 70 parking spaces, 4 of which will be ADA. Because TxDOT will be expanding 377 over here, you can tell that the applicant has shifted the building to the east in order to accommodate the expansion of the roadway. And at the suggestion of the engineer, they have provided an easement for city water and sewer outside of that TxDOT right of way. The site plan meets the city requirements for landscaping. I will move to the landscaping plan. We have drainage. There's a lot of information that the applicants get to give us. And here we have the landscaping plan. It meets the requirements for landscaping, parking, and buffering. Much of the landscaping is on the west side, as you can tell, and some of this will be lost due to the expansion of US 377. The applicant has shifted some of the trees here along that are required for the buffering requirements. They've tried to put it on the edge of the easement so that it's not directly over the water and sewer.
The zoning on the south side of the subject property. Down here. So we've got combination of a commercial zoning district down here. And AG, which is your agricultural district, large lot. And that requires different buffering. And so along this AG, the applicant originally had wanted just to put some extra landscaping. And so this landscaping plan shows a lot more plants and trees. But they have changed their mind and they will be providing masonry wall that is required. And so they will be meeting the requirements of the landscaping, but just know that there's more here than is required of the landscaping because they wanted it to be the landscaping to be the buffer. So there'll be less landscaping there because of the fence. So you have the, according to the ordinance, you may approve the plan. You can approve the plan with conditions or you can deny it. I'm recommending approval of the site plan. P and Z reviewed this at their August 10th meeting and they unanimously voted to recommend approval of the plan. I don't know if the applicant.
My name is Julian Castillo. I'm just here on behalf of the applicant Vasquez Engineering. I'm just here if there's any questions.
Are y'all the same as doing the one on the other side of the street?
We did design the one.
Okay.
as well.
My name is Srinivas Chaluwadi. I am the owner developer of this property. Thank you very much for the opportunity. If there are any questions, thanks Julian coming for joining. If there are any questions for me, I would love to answer them.
Did P and Z ask for any conditions?
No.
Thank you.
I turned the video on also, just.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for lot 1, block C, Pine Ridge Pavilion Addition Phase 2, located west of the high school at the southeast corner of the intersection of US 377 and Pine Ridge Road within the city of Auburn.
I'll second. Motion by Aaron, second by Randy. All in favor? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, item 16, recess into employee benefit trustee meeting. We have a presentation from Kim Hendricks with Hub International regarding the city's insurance rate. And consideration of action on awarding and funding the employee benefit trust insurance programs based on rates as presented to the council.
Good evening. I'm Kim Hendricks. Rodney Dryden was planning to be here tonight, but he had a scheduling conflict, so he asked me to fill in for him. What Mike just passed out to you is just a summary of what I'm going to tell you. I thought it would be a little bit easier for you to follow along and know what we had worked with the city manager and the finance department to try to get your city benefits ready to go for the new plan year. Just to give you a little backstory, last year, well, the city had been experiencing significant rate increases year over year for the last 3 or 4 years. So last year we made the difficult decision to change your base plan that the city was funding to an HSA, high deductible health plan, versus a pretty rich PPO copay plan. That was for twofold. One, to try to curb cost and educate the employees a little bit more on how they can help control cost, and just mainly getting the budget under control a little bit more. As a result of that, the cost to the employees' dependent coverage increased across the board. That was difficult to hear from the employees. So we're this year trying to make amends with that, and we've have adjusted some of the dependent cost contributions from the city to help make those cost for the employees who have dependent coverage a little bit lower and something that they can work with. We are able to stay with the same carrier this year with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They initially came out with close to a 15% increase, 14.9 to be exact. We were able to get that number down to 4.5% increase with negotiations and then using a bundled discount for dental and vision. So with all of that mentioned, currently we're looking at 93 employees are covered under your plans. 71 are employee only, but 22 have families with dependents. So the dependent cost is a significant factor here. We wanted to try to keep continuity and stability within the plan. So we felt like Blue Cross was the best way to go this year, to keep all of the plans exactly the same, increasing the city's contribution to the employee cost to help lower those. Again, using the HSA plan as your base plan, then there is a buy-up option to still use that PPO plan if people desire to have that lower deductible with the copays. And then there's also 2 other lower cost plan options that offer copays as well. So we try to give a mix of different plan options for your employees to have some options to work with. Let's see. So currently 606,000 is the current cost for medical premiums. And then there's $99,600 in HSA contributions. We have proposed increasing the HSA contributions to $1,500 for employees. And then those that are covering families would get $3,000 contributed into that HSA. This is to help offset the $5,000 high deductible plan, so that they have some money to work with and to go to the doctor and take care of their medical needs. The average PEPM or cost per year for employees currently is at $7,676, and these changes would increase that to $9,675 for the year. Like I said, still three options, 3 PPO options, and then there's 1 HMO option available. As you'll see on the bottom of that summary page, there's a cost analysis of we started with $555 per employee per month. These changes with the dependent cost would increase that to $695.99 per employee on the average. Same thing with the HSA cost increasing from $90.22 per month to $110.23 per month to increase the HSA contributions. The dental rates went up about 5%. As you can see, it's $1 difference to the employee cost. The vision cost does not change at all. And then we had a few slight changes in the long-term and short-term disability premium. It's going to be negligible as well. So we show the 23% increase overall with those increased dependent cost contributions and the HSA contributions. And then I have a couple of pages behind that give you the breakdown on the medical and dental and vision if you need those. And I'm assuming I'm here to get your approval.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
On the HSA, is that all done in January? So we put that amount in their account. Is it split between January and August? How do we do the?
I believe those are done on quarterly.
Okay, so it's just split before. Okay.
Right. And they give it right up front in October for the first quarter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is the motion to award and fund the employee benefit trust insurance programs? I'll make a motion to do that. Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Matt, second by Aaron, all in favor? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll reconvene into regular session. And then we will turn around and recess into a meeting of tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, City of Aubrey, Texas. Consider and take appropriate action to appoint a vice chair for the board.
You're the chairman, Mr. Mayor, you're the chairman, and the ordinance, the resolution has, an option for a vice chair and other positions if you so desire, I believe.
We're just following the creation ordinance and we figured at minimum, I mean, it designates you as Chief Cropper said as the chair, but we need a vice chair in case you're not here to do it. So you can designate an office if you would just want to designate the deputy mayor pro tem or the mayor pro tem, that's fine as well.
We're going to stick it on the pro tem. Or deputy. No.
I'll make a motion to appoint the mayor pro tem as vice chair for the board.
I'll second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Matt, all in favor? 4-0. Consider and take appropriate action regarding resolution of the Board of Directors approving the project and finance plan for tax increment reinvestment zone number 2.
I guess you're the chairman, Mr. Mayor. We've gone to get our financial advisor. He'll be here in just a moment. We had a separate spot for some of our consultants tonight because the room was so full, so he went to get him.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm DSN with Unicap. We're your TERS administrator. The item that you have before you, this is the board meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
So, the chapter 311 of the Texas Property Code that governs TERS, the creation of TERS and then administration of TERS requires preparation of a preliminary project and finance plan as part of creating the district initially. And once basically the details of the TERS are established, that preliminary plan that was prepared as part of creating the district would have to be finalized. And the board will have to basically approve that final project finance plan and submit that or recommend that to council for approval. So this action is basically that final project and finance plan that is being presented to the board for consideration and then ultimately a recommendation to council for final approval, which I believe is item 22 or 23 on the council agenda tonight. So hopefully you all had a chance to look at the final plan, which is basically an extension of the original preliminary plan, which was used to create the district. If you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And staff and council and any of your consultants have all reviewed that and recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution of the board of directors approving the project and finance plan for TERS number 2 human development.
I'll second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Chuck, all in favor? 4-0.
Thank you,
Alright,
board
we'll
members.
reconvene
This
in-
also basically covers item 26 of the regular agenda for council.
Thank you.
We'll reconvene back in the regular session. The next 2 agenda items are zoning cases posted for public hearings. The Planning and Zoning Commission tabled both applications at their last meeting, so the city council has not received a report from Planning and Zoning. Per state law, the city council cannot take any type of action on a zoning case without a recommendation from Planning and Zoning. Since people are here to speak on these agenda items, I'm going to open the public hearing so that the council can hear citizen comment and concerns. Please keep in mind that this is a public hearing, which means the council will listen to comments, but the council has not received a report or recommendation from P and Z. So the council will not be discussing the case or comments tonight. After everyone has spoken, I do not intend to close the public hearing, but I'll be looking for the council for a motion to continue the public hearings to the regular city council meeting in September in the council chambers here at City Hall.
Mayor, if you want to open up 18 and 19 together, I think LaShondra has a presentation that's kind of tied together. She can do all that at the same time, and then you can hold the public hearing separately because we'll need a motion to continue on each one separately.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and open 8 or 19, I think that would be good.
Item 18, hold a public hearing, consider on an ordinance zoning the Keeneland development from unzoned to PD district for uses consistent with the SF 75 district and delineated development standards for lot area, lot dimensions, yards, height, lot coverage, and landscaping in approximately 81.5 acres situated in F. Reno survey. Abstract number 1243, generally located on the north side of Spring Hill Road, north of the terminus of Paradise Drive and Lone Star Lane. And then item 19, hold a public hearing on an ordinance amending the zoning for a portion of the High Point Ranch development from AGR district and a portion of the property from unzoned to PD district for SC or shopping center district use. Certain commercial district uses, SF 75 district uses, and delineated development standards for lot area, lot dimensions, yards, lot coverage, building design, screening, and landscaping on approximately 460.7 acres situated in the F. Trevino survey, abstract number 1243, generally located on the northeast corner of Spring Hill Road and Highway 377. And we'll open both of those public hearings at 6:46.
Okay, so the first item that we're gonna look at, both of these are in the same general location, but the first request that we're gonna look at is for Keeneland. So this is actually if you get my corner to work here. So Keeneland is the area that is highlighted in blue, and it is south of High Point, which we're gonna be discussing next. So this particular development is 81.5 acres. It was, let me go ahead and go to the next slide here. So it was actually in your ETJ before it was zoned. So before December 13th, 2021, I think this is an important point to bring up. It was in the ETJ, but before there was a development agreement on this property, the city had no power to enforce any regulations for lot size, land uses, and building design. So the reason why that development agreement that was approved by council on December 13th, 2021 was beneficial is because it did put those standards in that agreement, and it allowed the city to be able to enforce those particular standards. And so following that development agreement, the city did annex the property on January 25th, 2022. So now we're at the point of zoning the property. And so, you know, why are we doing the PD? Because we want the PD to basically reflect what was in that development agreement. And so we're gonna, of course, you know, it's a big document, but we're gonna go over the highlights of that right now. So within that development agreement, it would allow them to have 279 lots. And so they are actually doing this development in one phase. If you've had the opportunity to drive out there, you know, there, you know, are streets out there. There's also water and sewer that's been developed. And again, that was based upon that development agreement that had already been approved. And so 50% of those lots will range anywhere from 4,800 to, you know, just under 6,000 square feet. And then the remainder of the remaining 48% will be at least 6,000 square feet or greater. And so we talked earlier about some of those building design standards that we could do as part of that development agreement. So we basically mimic those same standards in this PD. And one thing that's important to point out is the development agreement is the only way that the state allows the city to continue to enforce those particular development regulations. Otherwise, you wouldn't, we couldn't enforce any type of masonry standards. And then there are also standards in that particular development agreement as well as the PD for garages, the type of roofs and what roof pitch that has to have architectural elements as well as landscaping on each lot. Sorry. Oh, let me point out one more thing real quickly. So that green line that you see, those green lines, so those are actually trails that are going to connect to the city's trail system. So that's why the developer will be putting those in. And so they will again connect to property on either side once those properties are developed. And so they were required, actually with the point when they did the development agreement, when they were going through that process, city did require them to do a traffic impact analysis. So Traffic Impact Group is the name of the firm who performed that for the city. And so where you see that AM peak hour, that's at that time, peak hour, that is the time when that group has estimated you would have the most trips based upon the number of lots that are in this proposed development. And then you see the same thing for PM peak hour. So based upon that traffic impact analysis, it determined and the developer is going to adhere to it, construct an eastbound left turn lane at both entrances. So you will have one. It's weird. Okay. Well, that's really strange. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this will be one location. You'll turn left into, there will be a left turn lane into this entrance of development, and then on this side as well. And so also one thing to point out is what you see of Spring Hill Road today is not what it will look like once TxDOT coordinates with the city to do that improvement, and that proposed improvement is 100-foot right away. So yeah, it'll look significantly different than what it looks like today. And so these are, when you do get ready to consider it, although you're not making a decision on that tonight, these are items that, you look at. So of course, that development agreement, is really key. Those other three are actually straight from your zoning board. And so again, you're looking at impact of any and all uses, general welfare of the city and the property, could it be usable for what it's on today? Well, no, it couldn't, because the zoning doesn't, coincide with that development agreement. And so these factors were also considered when the city was annexing the property. It was missed, the zoning portion of it was missed. So, that's why the city's going through that process right now. And so at that P and Z meeting on August 10th, there were 7 persons. I'm sure there were others, who were in opposition, but in terms of those who spoke, 7 persons spoke in opposition. And that opposition, they were speaking basically for High Point as well as for Keeneland. P and Z actually did close their public hearing, and they tabled consideration to September 14th. And one of the things that they really wanted the chance to look at was the development agreement. They wanted to make sure that, there wasn't anything that the zoning allowed them to do that the development agreement did not. And so you've already, determined that you would be tonight, there would be, you've opened the public hearing and there'd be no action. So, this slide is probably not necessary at this point. But again, you'd be continuing the public hearing to September 28th. On that date, public would also have an opportunity to speak then as well. So that concludes that portion. What I can do, it'll be at the council's pleasure. If you want to allow questions now, or I can go straight to High Point.
Let's go ahead and do the High Point.
All right,
and then we'll let everybody speak on both.
And so here's High Point. And so that's the area that is bounded by blue. And of course, again, Keeneland is just to the south. So this property is considerably bigger. It is 460 acres. However, it introduces a different element. So part of this property was actually already zoned. It was zoned at ag. So that's the green area. So most of that area actually is now being proposed, and we'll see it later, being proposed to be zoned commercial. So that gray area is what was not zoned, and it was also not within the city limits. And so prior to June 30th, similar to Kingland, you had this property that was in the ETJ, most of it, 309 acres, that's that gray area, that the city, could not enforce. So that's why on June 30th, 2021, city did enter into a development agreement in order to, put similar requirements on the property. And also on following, 6-7 months later, they annexed that 309 acres. Again, did a PD. Now, there are a few things I'm going to talk about on commercial that were different. Development agreement really didn't go into a lot of specification on commercial. So we're having to put that in now with the PD, and that's our opportunity to do that. So in terms of the residential portion of it, there are 1,450 lots. They are doing this in 6 phases. So 30% of those lots will be a minimum of 7,150 square feet. 39% will be 6,000 to 7,149. Of course, 31% can be less than that, but cannot go any lower than 4,600 square feet. The lot widths are going to range anywhere from 40 feet to 60 feet. Similarly, they do have certain architectural and building material requirement. This one does though allow for cementitious siding on all sides if they have Cape Cod, Victorian farmhouse, or similar type design. And then also there are requirements for landscaping on each lot. They also are dedicating area for a municipal park down here close to Spring Hill Road. And then they're also going to have a private amenity center. Of course, that'll be for the residents who live in that development. And then your commercial is where you would expect it to be, right there on the corner of Highway 367 and Spring Hill Road. And then there's another smaller node that's to the north that's going to be currently, it's called Blackjack, but that's the potential outer loop. And that'll be, a pretty busy corner in the future. So in terms of the commercial, again, this was the city's opportunity to put some standards in. And so we used that as an opportunity to make sure that there were certain uses that would not be on 377, that being one of the front doors to the city. And so shopping center is, you have 3 different commercial districts. Shopping center, is one of the ones that is more geared toward retail, restaurant, and office and services. So that's the one that they would be limited to. If someone does want to do a body shop or any type of machine shops, then in some instances that might be okay if it's not along Highway 377. However, we wanted you all to have an opportunity to make that decision. That's why if that was decided, they'd have to come to a specific use permit, which would go through the same type of process that we're doing right now. Also, the developer did what they did do. The only thing they did do actually in terms of the commercial was put in some type of building design guidelines that said that, we could enforce what was in the code, because currently, again, we are preempted from doing that without that development agreement. So we would be allowed to have some type of building material regulation. And so this development had Kimley-Horn perform its TIA. So obviously larger development, so there's going to be more traffic. And they had several areas where they had to do improvements. I'm not going to bore you all with, all the individual specifics, especially since I'm not the traffic engineer, but those 6 blue dots up there are areas where they have to do some type of improvement to the roadway. And basically those improvements are them constructing additional turn lanes in order to, make it safer for ingress and egress. Similar to the last one, again, prior development agreement. These are the factors that you will be considering tonight when you are not tonight, but on the 28th, when you do your deliberation. And again, P and Z, I looked at it on August 10th, 7 folks spoke, and public hearing was closed, and they'll be looking at it on September 14th.
Patricia, could I ask a question quickly? So if we had not done the development agreement and this was still on the ETJ and hadn't been annexed, this could have been apartments, this could have been warehouses, this could have been condominiums. They basically could have built anything that they wanted on this property. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It could have been any type of use that they desired, any lot size that they desired. Counties don't have zoning authority, so land use is regulated by cities. And so out in the ETJ, there's not going to be a regulation. So it can be anything from industrial apartment to regular homes or anything else, commercial, anything else.
Do y'all remember the part that's being graded right now was originally gonna be an apartment complex?
I remember, right across from the high school. That's it. Ms. Barnett?
Hi, my name's Connie Barnett. I live at 6531 McNatt and I'm part of the ETJ. And just to revisit the timeline, because I want you guys to have a better understanding where a lot of us are coming from. So this applies to the Belmont, Keeneland, and High Point developments, since they're all running concurrently. So if you go back to May to October of 2021, you guys were looking at the preliminary plats. Okay, December 2021, the development agreements were approved without any public input. We just went ahead and did it. Then January and February, there was a public hearing on annexation. And apparently during that meeting, the property was annexed and temporarily zoned as an SF1, 1 acre lots. And all the buzz around the neighborhood was there's going to be 1 acre lots. We're okay with that. Big, beautiful houses on 1 acre lots. So that's what we thought was coming. Then all of a sudden, plats were reviewed according to your agenda items. I went through and looked at them. You guys started looking at those and doing reviews. And then earlier this month, August 10th, I hear there's a meeting, that meeting specifically, that you're going to rezone. And I'm like, okay, what are we rezoning? So all that land you want to rezone from 1 acre lots to 7,500 square feet. And a lot of the houses will be on smaller lots than that. So up until last week, I had not seen any rezoning signs at all. I drive down 428 all the time. Never seen a rezoning sign, never a public hearing sign, never anything. And then all of a sudden, just this last week, we have little signs all of a sudden. So somebody's trying to cover their bases. So now we have signs to come in and talk about it. And you want public input, but the public input doesn't matter at this point because according to you guys, your hands are tied and there's nothing you can do. So I feel like the public has been tricked. You, the council, knew all along. You knew the plans. You enabled it by signing it. You didn't include the public's thoughts. And what you don't realize is that you're messing with people's lives out here. Ask any of us. Do we want more houses, 2,000 more houses? No. Do we want more traffic? No. More noise? No. The crime that comes along with this? No. Do we want the values of our houses and our property to go down because of this? You're going to put a Providence down the street from me. No, we don't want that. That's not why we moved here. Now, I understand people can sell their land and do whatever they want to with it, but it's part of Aubrey now, and you guys can control the zoning. Cramming 6 to 10 houses per acre, ultimately putting roughly 1,900 houses in approximately 1 mile stretch of road is going to create a whole host of problems that we don't need or want, except for maybe you guys do and the developers. So I could go into specifics on all the issues, but you know, they were part of the meeting on the 10th. I'm sure you heard about them, and I don't think you really care. So I'm not going to waste my time. If you did care, you do the right thing. You would deny their request and figure out how to deal with the consequences. This is your chance to prove to the people of Aubrey and the surrounding areas that you are putting their best interests first. Like I said, these are tough decisions you have to make, and people will remember it when it comes time to vote.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members. I appreciate the time for you to speak this evening. I want to comment on the same items that Ms. Burnett did. I was at the August 10th Planning and Zoning meeting with a developer who requested to change the lot sizes, which was tabled by the commission. We're not given an estimate of time as to when to expect them to make a decision or where they're going with this. That's a little concerning to me. Will we get additional input for another meeting to be able to speak at that time about this? My continued concerns about the lot size reductions will add more residential homes, increase the problems with traffic accidents, crime increasing, personal safety risks, and high risk of our property values being decreased. On the Denton County website, it says a community wildfire protection plan is a proactive approach to identify areas of the county that have higher risk of loss of life or property and potential wildfires to develop mitigation strategies to reduce those risks. Is this investigation required? The Aubrey City, was it done before the creation of this development? I do not have any assurances that there will be a safe evacuation route with all these people on these roads. The roads are difficult as it is now. I will be especially concerned if I'm on the road and I have a horse and a trailer. I have learned from the fire marshal's office that conducts inspections on commercial business as well as high hazard operations and fire protection systems in unincorporated areas of Denton County. Will the retail business on this property be safely managed by the city or the county? Does the construction of High Point Ranch require a permit board to be displayed in the names of the developer, architect, engineer, inspection, approval? Where is that? We now have the wedding venue annexed into Aubrey. Do they have to display the same permit boards for a wedding venue or a banquet event? I'm not sure they're all in the same category and I don't know what to expect. Do they follow the same codes as a new house building or do they have annual inspections? The county can't tell the city what to do and manage this development. I understand that, but the residents and guests of these developments and event centers are going to use our main roads, and that will ultimately affect each and every one of us. I have to compliment Sandbrook Ranch Homes in Aubrey for their dedication to honor the horse capital of Texas by saying on their website, the spirit of Aubrey continues to embody the small town charm and wholesome country's lifestyle, a town you want to call home. I want to call Aubrey home. I don't want to move. I ask that when you make your decision, I hope that my concerns are of importance to you.
Mark?
My name's Mark Mitchell. I live on Paradise Drive, and all this development's going to be right at my exit to go to work every day, which I already sit there for 5 minutes waiting to pull out without a trailer. You know, I've almost been hit by a Denton County Sheriff 2 or 3 times over the course of 10 years at 55 miles an hour. So you add 1,700 homes and all that extra traffic at 55 miles an hour. Our lives are in danger. Going to increase. Then you add a horse trailer or an RV or something pulling out, it's almost impossible to get out. There's times we have to get out and stand in the road to see if anybody's coming in order to pull out. Second, I'm on a well, so it doesn't really affect me at the moment, but all these houses now are on water restrictions. Then you're going to add all these 1,700 homes. Where's the water coming from? Section 8, 1,700 homes, little houses, another Providence Village. Then we run into Section 8 crime rate, just not taking care of the neighborhoods. Long-term rentals, same thing happened in Providence Village. And I think that's all I have now. They've covered everything else.
Ms. Midge?
Hello, can you
Yeah.
hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you to the mayor and the council for the time and hearing me speak. briefly this evening. My name is Ann Hedge. My address is 1019 Spring Hill Road in Aubrey. I'm speaking via Zoom because I'm currently on vacation. But that shows just how much I love my town and my home. This is very important to me. I've lived in Aubrey for 25 years as a business owner of an equine facility. We currently serve over 65 families with horseback riding lessons and other equine services. We are directly impacted by these developments in a very negative way. The property that I'm currently leasing is 50 acres, smack dab in the middle of these developments, White Hedge Farm. I have been here for 3 years and have plans to stay here as long as possible. But like Mark just mentioned, it is dangerous on this road. I cannot get my horse trailers out of my property currently, and that is before you add another, 1,700 houses. Traffic is a mess. Water, where's the water coming from? Like they're telling us, we already can't use the water. The current construction that we are in the middle of with the noise pollution every day, the dust pollution every day it's horrible for us and our horses. We have 50 horses on the property, and if you guys can see us, we are in the middle of this. We are being directly impacted every day with families from all over the community that come and ask what's happening in Aubrey. Everybody is just horrified by what's happening around us. And I feel like it's already too late, but I just wanted to speak up and let you know what I was in, my situation. And I asked the city council that when you make this decision, just think about what these other citizens are talking about and how this is impacting the city and an area that we love, that I've called home for 25 years. And I wanted to stay here with my business and keep serving the public as I can, but I'm not going to be able to do that anymore if it keeps going the way it is. So thank you very much.
My name is Gary Conway. I'm at 1103 East Blackjack. This will be kind of looking out my front door. And I feel the same as most of these. We kind of feel a little trapped here in the fact that this thing was done a little ahead of really having the opportunity to talk and speak about that. I did make a mention of the last meeting when we're looking at zoning. We need to change Aubrey to House Country USA instead of horse, because we're really changing the complete complexion of what we're doing. To give you some thoughts, because I'm an engineer by trade and education, so I'm sitting here thinking that my wife and I moved out here, and I kind of had this statement with one of the developers the other day. I put more money into my home and improving 20 acres to be exactly what this horse country was supposed to be. I didn't change a lick of it. I cross fence and put animals here, which is exactly what we're supposed to be. People came here on purpose because it was sandy loam, because trainers could work here, continue to work here, back and forth. I mean, that's what we moved here to do. This was my retirement piece, which obviously isn't going to be that. And that's kind of sad, because this was my home, and it still kind of is, but it's really changing so quickly. Let me give you some thought processes. So a 40-foot lot, have y'all thought about what that is? Have you thought about it mentally? That's 2 1/3 F-150s, single cab, short bed, butted up together, 2 1/3 of them. That's the house lot width. Okay, is that register? Okay, so think about how many you're putting in there. Similarly, I mean, you can do that to Belmont, you can do that to the other ones, and you kind of get an impression. I have a horse trailer without the gooseneck part and cut off the back of it that's 40-foot long. I mean, can you think about that? Me trying to pull out a horse trailer on the road and it's bigger than the width of the lot. That seems a little absurd. Doesn't it seem a little small to you? It appears if we're cramming some things in that maybe that doesn't make sense. Secondly, or at least thinking about that just sort of statistically, the traffic zoning doesn't make sense to me. If you have, let's just take, for example, you have 279 lots, most people have 2 cars. That gets you to 558 cars. You really think only 27% of those cars are leaving in the morning to go to work? That's it, only 27.
I don't think that does not seem to be very accurate. And then secondary, so that's less than half, so more than half, so 2/3 or more of the people don't work, won't go to work, won't have an opportunity to leave and exit. Similarly, if you look at it from the other perspective, it's 25% leave of the study that was done on the other properties on High Point Ranch. And it's a bit, obviously, I'm a little biased here. It's really sad to me that we call these things ranches. We destroyed ranches to put these here. Why don't we call it urbanity, which is the opposite of farming? It's opposite of agriculture, and it's the opposite of ranching. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else here? Want to speak? Sure.
Yeah, my name is Lance Bernard, and we own the construction zone. We're right there straight across Lone Star Lane. We're right next to Lone Star Lane. We have 5 acres right there. We look straight out into the development. We also have 2 lots on Lone Star Lane, my wife and I do. We used to live on the 3rd lot back behind there, but we recently sold that. But we're living up in the construction office now. But I'm not sure, but I believe, and I'm kind of come late to the game, but I believe that if this land was still in the ETJ and there's no sewer requirements, there's no sewer there, they would still have to have aerobic systems. So they have to have minimum lot sizes of at least a half an acre or maybe an acre if they're out in the ETJ. I don't know if annexing it and putting the design guidelines on it really helps if they're still going to be able to put siding on the whole house on that to me is concerning. If the reason for annexing the property was to be able to impose design guidelines and kind of control what it looks like, the design guidelines aren't that strict. I mean, with siding on the houses, it doesn't seem to make sense. And I was kind of thinking of the logic behind this. How does the logic work? If we're, I guess each house, you have a tap fee for water. So the city gets that tap fee, maybe a tap fee for the sewer. The city will get for each one of those houses, maybe some increased property taxes. So put all the finances aside, how does a development like this make sense if it's not just a financial decision? If you're making a decision based on just the development itself and the small houses, how does it make sense to allow that development in our community, taking all the financial part of it out? And I couldn't get there logically. I couldn't figure out why this makes sense, why this benefits our community to be able to build those type of homes, other than the financial aspect of it. And that's all I can say. Thanks.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that have a statement? Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm Stephanie Mitchell. I live at 6680 Paradise Drive. So again, I'm Mark's wife. We're right across from what was Mr. Houlihan's property and is now, I forgot the name of the Keelan, right? When we were at the planning and zoning meeting a couple of weeks ago, the developers were there and they mentioned several times, we've got the development agreements, we're moving forward. There's nothing you can do about it. And they walked us through their timeline and how many houses they would have sold and how many houses would be being lived in by this time next year. 25, I believe he said 25 a month they'd be adding. And then they said, then they would start the work on the road. So that's very concerning to me because 428, I think it's still not done yet. They're still working on it. And I know Mark and I and our neighbors on Paradise, all of the guys working in the Keeneland development, they were all parking on Paradise Road, which is a private road, but they didn't have any place else to park. So then what happened is as 428 is being redone, if you drove on it a lot, you know, the traffic is completely stopped in one direction. There's only one lane being used. So you alternate. So it backs up for a long time and then you alternate. It goes back and forth. One morning, a woman was sitting at the red light, which is just a small one on the side of the road. An 18-wheeler just bashed right into her. She was not killed, but it was a terrible accident. And that 18-wheeler's load was some sort of hazardous material. So all of 428 was closed for the remainder of most of that day. I think it opened up right before you got home. So my concern is that, okay, we're going to wait to open up 428 and fix that until these homes are being lived in. How is that going to work? They're still doing the first round on 428. So those are just concerns that I think need to be thought through. If we wait till all the homes are being lived in, how are we going to go to one lane of traffic? I don't know how that's going to work. Thank you.
All right. Last call. Anyone else want to speak?
Just asking about PIDs and MUDs and HOA fees and what's going on with the development. Sarah Bigley, 313 Countryside.
You look like you're about to say.
I was just gonna add to try to kind of explain some of the comments asking about, water and sewer and infrastructure. So High Point is part of a municipal utility district. And the municipal utility district can put in its own water and sewer. And if it's in the ETJ and it's part of a MUD, the city again cannot regulate anything that goes on out there. So part of, I think, that what was happening back at the time that the city was negotiating that and the council was considering that mechanism was because there was a municipal utility district being formed out in the ETJ. And that's a separate governmental entity. And they can really create their own government and they can have their own infrastructure. They can have their own police and fire if they choose to do that. They can act like a mini government. So part of the reason that cities enter into these development agreements is because these special districts are being formed and the city has absolutely no control over anything out there. In a MUD, we have no control over lot size. We have no control over building materials. We have no control over any of that. So generally to Ms. Bigley point, generally to that, one of the reasons that cities attempt to utilize PIDs is because that does give the city a little bit more control in that area. But that option of whether to have a PID or a MUD is not with the city. It is with the developer. We cannot do that against their will. So they generally, there's a trend and there has been in the past few years for developers to want to utilize MUDs. And that's a business decision that they make. And that's a business model that they use. The PID is another model that can be used, but again, we can't force a PID on someone. So the city back in the day when those negotiations were occurring was attempting to try to come up with another mechanism to help the developer accomplish what they were going to do that allowed the city to have a little more control. The PID did allow a little more control and the developer for Keeneland was willing to enter into that arrangement and do the PID. The High Point developer, they already had MUDs over in that area and there's a number of MUDs further to one direction over there. I don't know which direction that is. So that was kind of a joinder of this additional property. Part of it was already in the city limits. The part that was not in the city limits, they were joining that to an existing MUD, I believe. I don't think that was a new MUD. I think they were joining it to an existing MUD. So that's part of just to kind of explain the backstory of some of that was that in the ETJ, cities don't have authority and these special districts can form in the ETJ. And there's a process they go through and they can do it. So they do it either through the legislature. There'll be lots of special legislation. If you go look in the statute, you will see where the name of the form, the MUD is there and it's been formed. And the developer goes and does that, property owner goes and does that on their own, usually before they come to the city. So that I just kind of want to explain that. I know that people are not happy and concerned. And I understand that, but I just kind of wanted to explain the MUD PID, especially Ms. Bigley raised that point just to and it kind of went to the point that this gentleman on the front row was raising about the infrastructure and utilities out there. So just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Computer would like to say something.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. You state your name and address and then.
Yeah, this is Sandy Bernard. I am Lance's wife, actually, owner of Construction Zone, which he had said that we actually had lived a few acres back on Lone Star Lane. We've been here about 18, almost 20 years that we've lived in that home. Absolutely loved this environment. Really, I'm not a speaker. I don't enjoy this. And I'm just devastated, I could say, about these changes. And if it wasn't for our business being located here, I would up and move with absolute regret to have to leave this environment. But our business is here. Actually, I totally agree with so many of the other speakers on Paradise and the lady with the horse ranch across the street. I'm so concerned. I've actually myself, just pulling out our business sits on Spring Hill, and we have multiple employees here that are in and out of here every day. I remember when my daughter started driving when she was a teenager, I was scared to death with her pulling out with that curve right there where you cannot see who's coming around the corner. I myself have almost gotten rear-ended by an 18-wheeler trying to pull out and, to go east on Spring Hill. They drive super fast going down that road. And there's just been multiple near misses and incidents that I've known about. And so I'm concerned for our employees. I'm concerned about the safety. I'm concerned about the red light. How many times am I going to have to sit at that red light before I can actually get through just to go to the post office? I cannot see that many people being in this area. I'm very disappointed in the size of the lots. I thought they would be, bigger lots, nicer homes. And I was going to try to make myself accept that. But now seeing what, if there's going to be a Providence right there for our business, I'm concerned about theft. I'm concerned about our property value, just all kinds of things. So I'm just so unhappy about the whole situation. So very regretful. And, like I said, I'm a little late to the game. I don't know all the details that some of the other people might know, but I just know my experience in this. And it's a whole different Aubrey. And I like what the guy said about, it doesn't feel like it's horse country anymore. It does feel like the house country. And every time I drive into Aubrey, it just takes so long to even get here when I drive through McKinney to come here. And it's just, I'm just not, it's just very sad. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand that we're not supposed to make discussion without a recommendation. Am I not able to?
No, how the process works is a P and Z has public hearings. They make a report or a recommendation to the council. And then after the council receives that report or recommendation, they take action on the ordinance. So because P and Z tabled this item, council doesn't even have a report or a recommendation in front of it to take. So there's no action for council to be taken to
Can I
take
speak
tonight.
on the topic?
What we need to do is continue the public hearings, and then you can have some discussion about it. But I mean, you can't really discuss the topic of the application until you see it. So, but you can have some general discussion, but I think we just need to go ahead and make sure we continue the public hearing to the next date.
I'm on Zoom and I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah, this is Annabeth Ryder and I live on Ike Byram Road. And I have a question about the municipal utility districts that was being explained. And especially with regards to water. Water is a finite resource. And I was curious, who does the analysis to ensure that there will be enough water resource to support these community developments and the existing developments that are currently using water? Mustang has had a number of water restrictions out there as a result of the situation with the weather and lack of rain. And what type of analysis has been done to estimate how much water, which is usually, 90 to 100 gallons a day per household, and if the resource in this area will be able to support that and the existing uses? Who's responsible for that?
My name is Ryan Brown. I live at 7175 Rhodes Road. I'm not inherently against density. I mean, I don't know that this is always the best fit. I have two concerns. One is the quality of what's getting built. I mean, if you go to a lot of these tract homes, they're literally cardboard with hardy plank on top of it or brick. Rather than OSB or something like that. And those houses, they're not gonna last 50 years and they're gonna have to rebuild something. And then that's just more cost that my kids or your kids or whoever has to deal with. So. I mean, if it's a well-built, and again, this may not be the place for it, but there are townhomes that were built 50 years ago that are really high-quality buildings. And they're in really high demand. Now, that's not here, that's Dallas or whatever. But if it's a well-built development, then that'll be in demand 50 or 100 years from now. And so I'm more concerned about that. And then the other things that I've heard people be concerned about are traffic and water, which are real concerns. And it sounds like those need to be addressed. It's not going to happen tonight, but put together somebody to say, okay, where are the problems where we're going to have these traffic things? And when developers come in and say, okay, we're going to build these homes because we own the land. Okay, you can do that, but you're going to build the roads first, or whatever the solution is. Okay, you're going to do that, but you're going to put in the transit solution. I don't know. I'm not up there for a reason. But and same with water. Okay, you're going to come in and build. Well, then you've got to do rooftop captures for everybody, or for at least for the amenity centers and that kind of stuff. So you're using rainwater to water your stuff rather than pumping more stuff out of aquifers. I mean, there are long-term things that can be put into place that, granted, it doesn't address this particular development, but that might give tools to help answer these questions when the concerns come up in the future. So, thank you.
Mr. Fowler?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Rachel Fallows. I live on East North Street, right here in, downtown Aubrey. 3 years ago, my daughter was 2 years old and I moved here specifically for the hometown feeling. I'm a single mother. God has blessed me enough to where I could buy my own home. I work in Irving. I drive an hour every day just so we can live in this type of environment. And the fact that these homes are being built is really disheartening. It's not an environment I want my child to grow up in. These homes are very close to her school at Brockett. We don't know who would be letting in. And the style of homes that are just going to be thrown up, it's letting just anybody in who can afford it. If we're going to do this, can we not do larger homes so it's not taking as much space, not a whole bunch of people are moving in? That brings up the traffic issues. And I just think it's a really bad idea. I'm sorry, I'm not good at public speaking. I wasn't expecting to do this, but this does mean a lot to me. And I hope that it's reconsidered, that we can do this in a better way for our children to keep them safe. Thank you.
I'll move to keep the public hearing open until the September 28th meeting. That's a good meeting.
So it's going to be September 28th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the city council chambers.
Thank you. With that addition.
I'll second.
Motion by Matt, second by Aaron, all in favor? 4-0.
And that's the one for Keeneland. So we'll need a similar motion for the one for item 19 for High Point.
I'll move that.
High Point.
We keep a public hearing on High Point open through September 28th, 2023, 6 p.m. I'll second.
In
In the chamber.
Motion by Matt, second by Randy, all in favor? 4-0. Thank everyone for taking the time to come down and give us your input.
Can I speak a little bit or no?
So you've got the item.
Can I speak on it?
You've got the item still, if the
Okay.
mayor wants to.
Yes, go ahead. I'll just say, I appreciate everybody here and your passion, because I had the same passion. As a matter of fact, you know, your questions that you raised are the same ones that I had when I wanted to get involved with city council. And for all of you guys, I don't know what it's like to own that kind of property and see all these changes happen, but I do live here. And I do know what it's like to have a pregnant wife and not know if I'm gonna make it to the hospital on time, because the traffic's gotten crazy, because I live on 1385, and we've just developed the crap out of it. Now, we'll say, what happens is you find out that you can't do is what you thought you could do. And that the decisions being made aren't made by the people you thought they were being made by. And so my recommendation to you is to learn as much as you can about it, write to your state reps and encourage people to annex. Because and this is just my opinion, but what it seems like is the state has decided that developers should make decisions about what the city should look like and not local representation. So I understand your frustration. I'll say the same thing I said when High Point came up. I was not a fan. I spoke out against it. And I said something that these guys may remember. I said, when I went walking door to door to talk to Aubrey residents about running for city council, the one thing that not a single person said was, man, if only they just build a whole bunch of houses around here, it would make me so happy. And that sentiment, I still haven't heard anybody that wants to see Aubrey turn into a whole bunch of houses. But we're trying to do the best that we can. I'm not going to speak for anybody else on council, but I will say, I think we're trying to do the best we can for the residents that are already here. My goal when I came to council was to try to help growth while preserving quality of life. And what I found out is I don't have as much a say in that as I thought I did, but I really appreciate, it's hard to stay patient when people are upset at you. And I'm trying, because I understand, I can't say I understand where you're coming from, because I'm not in your position, but I live here too. And in some ways, you know, I understand some, so I appreciate you all coming to speak, and thank you.
I'll have one more comment as well, similar to Matt. So I butt up to an ETJ property and they are building apartments. They're building 3-story apartments that are 85 feet from our property line. And there was nothing the city could do about it because it's in the ETJ. So I will mimic you exactly what you've said. What we're trying to do, what we want to do, it's not always allowed. We're not always allowed to do. So we're trying to do the best with the decisions we can make and try to be as smart as we can with the things we can control to keep the things we definitely don't want from happening. So I appreciate you all coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Go ahead. We'll do one more. You're the lucky winner of the extra.
I don't know about that. My name's Derek Dodson. I live over on Shady Oak Drive. First couple of things, one thing nobody addressed, and this is because we have a high schooler. He's already saying it's hard to walk through the halls as it is right now. And I know they've got development. I've seen the plans and it looks good. I like it. But this many houses, by the time they get that done, it's inefficient. It's not gonna work. We're gonna be chasing our tails forever on that. If we don't get ahead of it first, it's never gonna get ahead. It's always gonna be chasing our tails on that. The other thing I was looking at was somebody had said about bigger houses. Yeah, more room, bigger houses, that makes for a nicer community. It really does. And I'm not saying all people that live in small communities are bad. My son does. He loves it. That's his style. But I will say, I've looked at it when he was there, and right now in Texas, 40% of the houses being built are bought by developers. They're buying them from themselves and renting them out, HUD or everything else, and it's not even giving it people the chance to buy them. And I think, yes, you're right. That's something that needs to go through legislation to be stopped. But I don't know what power we have over that. The other thing is, we've talked about what's going on. Is it a mud district? Is it not? Is this decision already made? I mean, I think I'd like to ask for everybody. Is this decision made? Is it over with? Is this just kind of nothing, letting us come up and talk about it? Seriously, I'd like to know if this decision's already made
What decision, I
on
guess?
what's gonna happen with this property. Do we even have anything that we can do with it?
Okay, so okay. So what the city did was they entered into a development agreement that set out standards. And so that was a compromise to try to get larger lots and to try to get a better product with building materials.
Mhm.
A few years back, the legislature took away the city's ability to even regulate what building materials people
Well,
could
that's
use on their
fine.
property.
Is this?
So what we've done is we've got the development agreement that has these standards in there. It has the density requirements, it has the building material requirements. So the reason that developers do that and go through this process with that development gives them their entitlements. So they are entitled to develop that property in accordance with that development agreement. The city still has the authority, and they did not give away that authority to zone that property when they signed that development agreement. So right now what's happening is property's working its way through the zoning process. And so the city has to look at that and determine, is that appropriate zoning? If the city were to not zone the property, then the developer has those entitlements called vested rights, and they have the entitlements already to develop in that manner. But recall, the reason they got those vested rights was because it was part of a development agreement to try to get the highest and best the city could get. So that was the reason for the development agreement being used. That's the tool that cities use to try to get the highest and best they can get in an ETJ where they have no authority.
Okay, that answers a lot of the question, but also too is, now I'll go with my own opinion. If we can't control it, or if the developer says, you know what, this is what we're gonna do, and I get that, I get progress on that. And my answer to that would be, then make it a mud district. You pay for all utilities yourself, you pay for all your police, fire, everything, you make it your own, area, we're out.
They have their own tax rate.
Well, no, I mean, I
And-
get
and
that.
they'll pay-
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but, as far as, whether or not they make it a mud district or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's a concern or not, but, I think it'd almost be more of an asset than it would be a concern. And that's just my personal opinion. Because I know, as far as developing the utilities, the police, the fire, everything that's gonna go out there, that stuff's expensive. And I'm a fireman down down in the Metroplex. But I also know that hiring processes and everything, I mean, I work for the highest paid in Texas, and we can't get more than 20 people to sign up for our test. It's extremely difficult to get all this stuff in place, and I get that. And that be my point of opinion on it, would be, you know, if they don't want to comply with what we're saying, then my part would be, then make it a mud district and be over with it. But either way, I was just wondering if this was a done deal or not, and what actually do we have, what are our choices?
Move on to item number 20. Consideration and action on a revised preliminary and final plat, High Point Ranch Phase 1 Alpha, being 81.640 acres out of F. Trevino survey, abstract number 1243, Denton County, Texas, located east US 377, bounded on the north by East Blackjack Road, and on the south by Spring Hill Road in the city of Auburn.
So this evening, you are going to be looking at a revised preliminary plat and final plat. So I believe everybody knows where the High Point development is. Ms. Stringfellow did a wonderful job with that presentation. We have the plat proposed for High Point Ranch Phase 1A. It's a couple pages. This property, the preliminary plat was reviewed and approved in March of 2022. Preliminary plats are good for 2 years, in which time the final plat needs to be approved by the council. This revised plat is generally in conformance with the original preliminary plat. except that it has different boundaries. So I'm going to skip over to the concept phase. So the original preliminary plat was most of this. And what we're dealing now is only the phase 1A, which includes the municipal park and these lots here. So this revised plat encompasses 81.64 acres, creates 225 residential lots, 4 HOA lots, and 1 municipal park lot. The reason for the change, my understanding from the original preliminary plat was for negotiations with the Upper Trinity Regional Water District regarding their easement. And the final plat, my understanding, has been reviewed and approved, and the Director of Public Works and Development Services has the information she needs. That has changed since the information I provided a week ago. We've received that information. The city engineer has also reviewed and approved the plans. The engineer has a note that, a note number 19, that I've requested that it make clear that it refers to a temporary easement to the city of Aubrey, and no other easements provided on the plat. There's a note that says it will be removed only. And my understanding is that's not an issue, and that the developer will make that change. This plat also shows 9 lots within the existing floodplain. The subdivision ordinance doesn't allow single-family zone properties to be platted in floodplains, but the developer has provided a note number 18 that, and I don't know that I can highlight this well enough, but there is a note number 18 on here that says that the no building permits will be issued for these lots within the flood zone. The plat is missing the names of the signatories. The city needs to have corporate documentation that confirms the names and the titles of those corporate people. The engineers explained that by the time the final plat is reported, the ownership may change in the lien holders, and so they're waiting for that information to be finalized before signing the plat. At their August 10th, 2023 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted to recommend conditional approval as recommended by the Director of Public Works and Development Services. But as I mentioned before, we've received additional information from the developer, and they've addressed the concerns originally recommended by noted by Planning and Zoning, which was the construction plans needed to be approved by the city engineer. The city engineer has reviewed those, and the confirmation from UTRWD, and the Leanne has that information and feels secure with that. So the recommendation is to approve the plat as presented. We have, I'll try and answer any questions. The developer's representative is here as well. I don't know.
Sure, I'll generally allow a question, but you'll have to go to the podium.
Debbie Conway, 1103 East Blackjack. I'm directly across from phase 2 on the High Point Ranch. So I see on the information below where it talks about the phases of the road, maybe like what year in 2026, when it's going to be finished on Blackjack. Is there a Gantt chart somewhere that shows when each one of these phases are going to be complete? I know we talked about 25, oh, it's you again, okay, from last time. So end of 25 houses, 2024, then you're going to jump over to phase 2. When is the end of phase 2 and when is the end of phase 3? That's somewhere on here I didn't see.
Good evening, Thomas Fletcher with Kimley Horn, the engineer for the developer. As you have noticed, the construction has just recently broken ground. The initial phase generally takes about 16 to 18 months to finish the infrastructure.
So that's all the utilities, the earthwork, the streets, getting final acceptance. And then house construction would start at that time. So we anticipate the house construction starting late 2024, early 2025. Generally, home construction is 4 to 6 months. So really what we're anticipating is that within 2025, we'd probably see maybe 100 to 150 homes. And then after that, the developer has expected 20 to 25 per month. And we would design the development such that it's obviously economy and market driven. If something slows down and home sales slow down, then that could affect the pace. But if the pace continued at that rate, then the development would probably finish out and complete around 2031, 2032. Yeah, all the phases, correct. So it's about a 8 to 9 year project. And if there are any questions regarding the plat itself, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Looks like this. Oh, sorry. I remember it too. You and I had the same amount of money put in the original development, mine of my own home and yours of the development yourself. The question I had was, did the city notice that the parts that the developer so graciously gave you were all floodplain? Okay, I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. There's no houses will be built there. There will be no economic development on their part. They so graciously gave that to the city. All right.
Anything? A motion.
All right. I'll move to approve the revised preliminary plat of High Point Phase 1A.
I'll second.
Motion by Chuck, second by Matt, in favor. 4-0.
Mayor, just 1 minute. The motion only included revised, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it, revised preliminary, it should have included revised preliminary and final plat. So,
Do I need to amend? just-
yes, I thought I'm
Actually-
sorry, I couldn't really hear you, so
That's fine. Motion to.
you can go
revi-
ahead and just take a second motion since they've already, y'all adopted one, just make a second motion to approve the revised, the final, or the
final.
actual final plat.
Okay,
It's not a revised, it's just a final.
I'll move to approve the final plat for High Point Ranch Phase 1A.
I'll second. Motion by Chuck, second by Matt, all in favor. 4-0. Item 21, consideration action on a revised preliminary and final plat of Belmont Phase 1 being 37.049 acres of the Trevino survey, abstract number 1243, Denton County, Texas, located east of US 377, bounded on the north by East Blackjack Road, on the south by Spring Hill Road in the city of Aubrey's ETJ.
Sorry, that's okay. Allowing you to progress the slides. There we go. Okay, so the pardon me. But it's not showing all. There we go, yeah. So pardon the technical difficulty. So this is another revised preliminary and final plat for Phase 1 of Belmont. The property is located south of East Blackjack Road, north of South Hill Road, Spring Hill Road, or FM 428. It's east of US 377 and west of FM 2931. In the area in green in the Google map here, the Denton CAD map presented. And this is a plat, so you're gonna need to zoom out so people can see it. Couple more times. Okay, so that is. This is the original preliminary plat. So you see that at once upon a time, they were platting the entire project. What we're doing now is revising that plat to incorporate only that green area that was shaded. And again, you're gonna need to zoom out. Apologize. Wait, this might still be. I think you have. the wrong file. This is the one on the plat. But these look like the construction plans. The record construction plans, this isn't the right one.
I think we pretty well know where it's at if you want to move along.
Okay, I'll move along. The applicant has provided the information that they need. The preliminary plat was conditionally approved in September of 2022. The preliminary plat, the revised plat today is generally in conformance with the original preliminary plat and the development agreement. But because it is slightly different, that's why we're asking for you to approve it as a revised preliminary and final. This phase one encompasses 37.049 acres, creating 150 residential lots, 5 HOA lots. And the entire development, once built, should include 131 acres and create about 535 single-family lots and 12 open spaces, according to the original plat. So development standards are shown here. This was mentioned just because there was a slight difference on the plat, but it is the minimum lot, rear yard setbacks are 10 feet. For both the standard lots for 40 foot and 50 foot. CoServe provided a will serve letter, but mentioned that they need to coordinate with the developer about an existing underground line, transformer, and cabinet on the property. And that still needs to be addressed, is my understanding. Water and sewer will be provided by Mustang SUD. The original preliminary plat included the wastewater treatment facility. You can see kind of in that area. Those plans have changed. And so the Mustang will now build a larger wastewater facility somewhere else. But until that wastewater facility is built, then my understanding is the city of Aubrey will be accepting that wastewater. And so within this preliminary plat, there's going to be a lift station in this general vicinity instead. And so the city will be accepting that on behalf of Mustang. So we've got the 100-year floodplain does weave within this property. So you can see in the green areas. And there are some lots that fall within that. The developer has provided a revised preliminary plat that has some asterisks that will have asterisks on it. And they will provide a note that says that those lots won't be buildable. You can't build a lot on a floodplain. So until they get approval by the LOMAR, then there will be no homes built on those lots. So, at their August tenth meeting, the commission unanimously voted to recommend conditional approval as recommended by the city planner. But since that time, the developer has provided additional information, and the conditions originally suggested are no longer really, they've been addressed. So regarding the easements and the rights of way, the developer has a revised plat that is providing the required dedicated right of way and the provision of a 20-foot water sewer easement. And we have language for the slope maintenance easement on both sides of Kingfisher. So that has been addressed. The construction plans have been reviewed by the city engineer. My understanding is that he has approved those. The residential lots we mentioned about those that are located within the flood zone will have the asterisk on, and there will be a note on the plat that addresses the restriction of building permits for those lots. The provision for utility services, however, we are still waiting confirmation from COSER regarding the location and width of those easements. So that is still a recommended condition. And the plat is missing the signatures. The Director of Public Works and Development Services isn't going to record a plat without the signatures. So you can approve the plat, you can approve the plat with conditions, and deny the plat. You would need to give reasons why you would want to deny the plat, but it is consistent with the development agreement, which is what I used to review the plat. So I can try and answer any questions. The developer's engineer is here.
Just very briefly, my name's Nathan Thompson. I'm an engineer with Peloton Land Solutions. We're here representing the landowner and developer. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for y'all.
We just do that so Zoom members can hear you. speak.
Okay, Debbie Conway, 1103 East Blackjack. I just noticed on multiple, so did you designed this obviously, right? Peloton, your name's on that. On several of these maps, talking about the outer loop, some of them say proposed outer loop, future outer loop. We've been told by multiple people that the outer loop has not been determined yet and will not be determined until the end of 2025. So do you know something I don't know? Because you got future outer loop up there.
Sure, I can address that.
Okay.
So when we first started planning out this project, and the first piece of property was acquired was 54 acres down there off of Spring Hill Road. When it was about 5-6 years ago, and we used the Denton County thoroughfare plan and as kind of a guide for where the outer loop was going to go. Understanding that in doing development for years, but if you reserve the right of way for whoever's going to come in there and build it, it helps them not be able to put it through your development later on down the road. But also understanding that on a thoroughfare map, if there's no definitive document from whoever's going to go build it, that it's subject to move at any time. And we knew that. And so our goal was to reserve the right of way for it in the event that it was going to happen the way the Denton County thoroughfare map said, understanding though that it may not. Subsequently, we even as late as a month ago had a meeting with the planners, the engineering firm that's planning the alignment, and they still have not picked an alignment. They still have 4 options that were on the table. You know, one of them was somewhat remotely what we've reserved out of the 4 alignments, but to my knowledge, they have not picked an alignment yet, as far as definitive. And a lot of that depends on putting in those major freeways like that. They have to do a lot of environmental impact studies and whatnot because they receive federal funding, and that's part of what they have to do. So to answer your question, we've always reserved room for it so that we knew that it wasn't going to go through the middle of everything, but understanding that it may or may not ever go there.
Whoops, I'm Steve G, the developer, the owner of the property, and just, you know, as you're questioning on the outer loop, we reserved 1,000 foot of space through there between the Saratoga project to the north and the Belmont project to the south, the green area right there. And we've told the county, and we've told y'all, we've told staff that we're holding those areas back. And hopefully they can, well, hopefully they don't build it on Blackjack, but if they come through there, we've given them a slot to come through, and that's what we've done there. We've been through staff comments. We agree with staff comments, and we'd ask for you to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised preliminary and final plat of Belmont Phase 1, subject conditions 1, 2, and 4.
I'll second. Motion by Aaron, second by Chuck, all in favor? 5-0. 22, presentation summarizing the results of Public Improvement District Number 1, PID Series 2023, Special Assessment Revenue Bonds Process.
Mayor, Council, this item and then the next 5 after it are related to the Public Improvement District Number 1, Keeneland, and the related tours. Jim Sabonis is here, our financial advisor. Our bond counsel is also here, Julie Partain, and I know you've already spoken to Abby, so if there's any questions, we can follow up. But Jim's going to give an overview. He's going to use this presentation. I gave you copies of it. Christie, this one here. So I'll turn it over to Jim. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Jim Sabonis with Hilltop Securities. This presentation summarizes the pricing and final transaction numbers for the Keeneland Public Improvement District Special Assessment Revenue Bond sale that was marketed and priced this morning. It's a culmination of months of work, preparing a plan of finance and actually working with the city's professionals and the developers' professionals to take this to the market to satisfy the requirements of the development agreement. Development agreement was executed and approved. And all the actions that we have, the next 5 actions, as Mike said, all pertain to this. The service assessment plan, the levy assessments, the tax increment reinvestment zone, they all relate to this. I'm gonna start by saying that on your behalf, FMS, the underwriter, marketed your bonds today. 14,541,000, the special assessment revenue bonds. These bonds are only assessment on Keeneland. No legal or financial liability to the city or the citizens of the city, only the landowners in the area. And in summary, the bonds are priced well. We actually have pricing information comparing us to recent prices. We went through in detail about how these bonds were priced. And it's been very consistent and competitive with recent transactions. In summary, there are about 10 institutional investors that actually focus on these bonds. They had orders for the full bond amount from 4 of them, and partial orders from a number of the other ones. This was a well-priced transaction. We discussed it with Mike and Charles and the development team, and they all approved the pricing. What this project is it's an assessment on Keeneland PID, 279 homes. They'll have an average price of ranging from 385 to 415,000. Based on the city's current ad valorem tax rate, it generate about slightly over $500,000 of ad valorem taxes. For the life of the tours, life of the assessment bonds outstanding, we have a tours contribution to offset part of the assessments, netting about $321,000 ad valorem taxes to the city on an ongoing basis. The bonds were structured in what we would consider a typical best practice structure. 14,541,000 of bonds to fund a project fund of 12.2 million. We have a fully funded debt service reserve. The process was, these are 30-year bonds with average coupon of 5.95%, a true interest cost of 6.25%. Total principal and interest is about 31,700,000 over the life of the issue, averaging about $1 million per year for the life of the project. This project is will be, if approved, all the actions and proceedings will be presented to the Attorney General of Texas, who reviews all debt issuance by cities It takes 15 working days from the receipt of executed documents. We're planning on closing on September of 21st. This actually shows the debt service of the project. And again, this has, as I indicated, a total principal and interest of about 31 million. There will be an additional interest levy. That interest levy will be used to fund reserves for prepayment or delinquencies. There'll be an administrative fee and the total cost will be about $1.05 at a tax equivalent levy on the homeowners. To give you a feel for what's taking place, councilmen and council people, is that we'll be doing an assessment levy of approximately $1.05. We'll have a 17.6 cent TERS offset, reducing the gross overall, the net overall assessment to $2.99. I want to make a couple comments about this, having worked on the other projects. This is the lowest TERS percentage we have on any of our existing bids. This land, as indicated earlier this evening, was in the ETJ. Their early discussions with developer, he had proposed doing a special utility district outside of your jurisdiction. The staff successfully negotiated a development agreement that minimized the participation, but allowed that to come in. The bottom line is better have a quality development in the city limits generating taxes than not generating taxes having the same impact on the city. In summary, we have a development agreement. This is compliant and consistent with all the constraints and requirements of the development agreement. I think both the city and the developer team worked very efficiently together to make this a very successful transaction. End result is, I believe the city is pleased with the results and I believe developers pleased with the execution of this transaction. And I want to thank again, city staff and the developers team. We're working very smoothly integrated to make this an efficient process for everyone involved. That concludes my comments. I'll answer any questions and comments. And as I said, the follow-up items related to the TERS and service assessment plan, very detailed, but they all represent the exact numbers presented here. And they all are in their individual documents. So all those actions will actually implement this, and this will be the final action related to this, and we move forward. With that, we'll do item 23, hold a public hearing on ordinance approving a service and assessment plan and assessment role for authorized improvements within Aubrey Public Improvement District Number 1, making a finding of special benefit to certain property in the district, levying assessments against certain property within the district, and establishing a lien on such property, providing for payment and collection of the assessment in accordance with Chapter 372 Texas Government Code as amended, and providing an effective date. Start time is 8:11.
So this next item is the ordinance approving the service and assessment plan. The plan has been prepared by MuniCap and reviewed by staff. We recommend approval. Abby is here with, if you have any questions for him on that plan.
This is written item 24 is the action on the public hearing, right?
No, this is the service assessment plan. The bond issuance.
Yes, I do. Any comments on this item? We'll close the public hearing at 8:13. Need action on this?
Yes. Action to approve the ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance for the service and assessment plan and assessment role for authorized improvements within Aubrey Public Improvement District Number 1, the Keeneland development.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? 5-0. 24, consideration and action on ordinance approving and authorizing the issuance and sale of the city of Aubrey Special Assessment Revenue Bonds, Series 2023, approving and authorizing an indenture of trust, a bond purchase agreement, a limiting offering memorandum, a continuing disclosure agreement, and other agreements and documents in connection therewith, making findings with respect to the issuance of such bonds and providing an effective date.
So this ordinance approves the issuance and sale of the PID bonds for Keeneland. Staff and advisors recommend approval of the ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of the City of Aubrey Special Assessment Revenue Bond Series 2023, Aubrey Public Improvement District number 1.
I'll second. Motion by Aaron, second by Randy, all in favor? 5-0. For the public hearing and consider and act on an ordinance amending ordinance number 740-22, the city of Aubrey providing for the creation of tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, city of Aubrey, Texas. Time is 8:15.
So this item addresses a Scrivener's error in the TERS. The tax rate was mistakenly recorded as the M&O rate, when in fact it needed to be the total rate. So this corrects that. We recommend approval of the ordinance.
Any comment on this?
I'll move to approve the ordinance.
Let me close the public.
Oh,
hearing.
yeah, sorry. Nah, it's ready to go.
2050 or 8:15. There you go, man.
I'll move that we approve the ordinance amending ordinance number 740-22.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Chuck, all in favor? 5-0. Consider an act on an ordinance approving a project and finance plan for tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, making findings and providing an effective date.
Okay, this is the one Abby was talking about earlier, number 17. We do recommend approval of this ordinance.
So this item, basically, as I mentioned earlier during the TERS board meeting, creating a tax increment reinvestment zone requires preparation of a preliminary project and finance plan that basically outlines the types of projects that are authorized to be funded through the TERS structure, the participation level that the city agrees to basically, commit to that development, and the method of financing, how those TERS projects are going to be financed. So that preliminary project and finance plan was prepared and was included as part of that creation ordinance back in February 22 when the TERS was created. So that preliminary plan needed to be finalized. So once the TERS board is created, that board needed to review the final plan and recommend that to council. I think that was the action that you all took earlier today as the TERS board. Now, this basically is the completion of the process for setting up the TERS, originally creating it and finally having a final approved project and finance plan, which basically spells out types of projects that are allowed or authorized to be financed through the TERS, the participation level that the city has committed, and the method of financing, among others, to basically outline these items. And the final project plan that was presented for your consideration is basically the final document that needs to be approved by council. And this completes the TERS creation and setup process.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance for the project and finance plan for the tax increment reinvestment zone number 2 in the Keeneland development.
I'll second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Chuck, all in favor? 5-0. Hold a public hearing, consider an act on an ordinance for the proposed annexation of 1.17 acres over and across US Highway 377, an existing 120-foot right-of-way, legally described as being in the F. Trevino survey, abstract number 1243, Denton County, Texas, in the J. Pearson survey, abstract number 1048, Denton County, Texas. Time is 8:18.
Mr. Mayor and council, this is an annexation of US 377 at Concho. We've discussed this before. I think this was our third meeting. As you're aware, at our last meeting, I advised you that we had conflicting ordinances when we first started working on this. We took this back to our engineer and asked him to rework it and make sure that we were encompassing all of the roadway. Initially, he used a 1982 ordinance for the annexation. We had a 2000 ordinance that covered more area. Erring on the side of caution, the engineer has reworked this and given us an extra 50 feet just to be sure that we annexed everything. We're probably most likely re-annexing the 50 feet, but erring on the side of caution, we need to make sure that we have it in there and we have the ordinance available.
Any comment on this annexation? I will close the public hearing at 8:19.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance for the proposed annexations of plus or minus 1.17 acres over and across US Highway 377 and existing 120-foot right of way.
Second.
By Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? 5-0. Item 28, hold a public hearing, consider an act on an ordinance making appropriations for the support of the city, appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal in the city's indebtedness, approving and adopting the annual budget of the city of Aubrey, Texas for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, providing for the filing of the budget in the office of the city secretary and providing for an effective date.
Very good while you're handing paperwork too.
Mayor and council, I'm passing out a brief summary of the budget. But before that, I'd like to just go to the budget. Behind it.
Real quick, in case I didn't say it, we're 8:20 for the start time.
8:20. Keep going down. Looks like this. There it is. Okay, first off, I just wanted to run through the tax rates, property tax rates. So you can see about the middle of that page there, the fiscal year 2023-2024 tax rates compared to the current year. First off, the property tax rate proposed is 0.464 per $100 evaluation. And that's very similar to this year. It's down slightly from 0.46492. Also indicated there is the no new revenue tax rate. So the tax rate proposed is lower than the no new revenue rate. And it's the proposed M&O rate, which is 0.302266 per $100 evaluation, compares to the no new revenue maintenance and operating rate of 0.382972. And then you see the voter approval rate, which is 0.622542, and the debt rate of 0.161734. So the debt rate plus the maintenance and operating rate of 0.302266 equals the 0.464 per $100. So that is the proposed rate, and that is what is in the budget used to build the budget. We'll get back to the rates in the last item, the next item coming up, but this is just a kind of a summary of where we're at. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the overview of the budget. So that's the PowerPoint slide I gave you that's labeled fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
Mike, real quick, is that cover page going on the actual budget? Can we fix the typo for place 4? It has the wrong council member.
Yeah, we just, how are we gonna keep track of the Joneses?
Yeah. That is not the one that we filed in the paper. It might just be the wrong one we're showing up there, but yeah, the one that we filed did reflect Councilmember Jones. Okay. So this is the next item I'm going to talk to is the budget summary. You have a soft copy of that. So I broke out the major funds, so the general fund, the enterprise fund, and the CIP fund. The general fund revenue for the budget for fiscal 2023 to 2024 is 16.4 million. Expenses of 16.1. The enterprise fund is 5.4 million with expenses of 5.0. And the CIP fund is 14.8 with same expenses, 14.8. So overall, major funds, 36.6 million and revenue of 36.6 and expense of 35.9. Just a couple budget highlights. The revenue increases are coming from taxes and service fees, primarily police and fire. In the general fund, staffing is up 8, 4 in police, 1 in fire, 2 development services and 1 maintenance services. We have filed a SAFER grant for the employees that would be working at the new fire station. But that 21 is a placeholder. Until we find out more about that grant. So 8 additions of people in the general fund. The enterprise fund, the revenue increases from impact fees and water sewer billings. Staffing increase of 2. There's a large increase in expense for debt service for the 2023 phase 1 bond that we took out earlier this year. That'll have an impact on the enterprise fund next year. And then CIP, the main items are the fire station and ambulance, the vehicle replacement program, Project 38, and a couple of park improvements. Just a note on the vehicle replacement program, it is split between the general fund and the enterprise fund. The split percent is about 78% in the general fund and 22% in water and sewer. I've also included 2 sheets that break out the detail of the additions to staff. These sheets here that break out each individual position and whether or not we're making any adds. I'll just point out on the fire, there's 22 total, 21 are part of that SAFER grant associated with the new fire station. So a total of 31 increase, 21 of which are fire personnel. So a net increase of 10, which again, 8 in general fund and 2 in the enterprise fund. And then finally, I've given you a couple of sheets that detail the vehicle replacement program for the fiscal year 23-24. You'll see in the right-hand column. These have been included in the budget for both the general fund departments and the enterprise fund. So this budget is consistent with the budgets we reviewed through the workshops. But just wanted to give you an overall summary of where we're at. Be happy to answer any questions.
I like this breakdown, Mike. Thank you. I was asking for that last budget season, so this is cool to see.
Mayor, council, the sheet that you have that shows our employees for the year, this is the authorized number of people that are in your budget that you're approving tonight. So as we discussed during the workshop processes, we wanted to get approval from the council for each one of the positions that we have. So if one of our departments wants to add a person during the year, they're going to have to come back to you to reapprove this. So the council is always approving the addition of employees. It would require a budget amendment as well. Also included in your budget, as Mike was saying, is the fleet replacement program for this upcoming year. With your approval of this budget tonight, you're actually approving the purchase of those vehicles and the replacement of those vehicles, the replacement of those vehicles through purchase, and also the surplus of those vehicles so that we can sell them. So we don't have to come back to you every single time that we need to sell a vehicle or surplus property, unless we do something other. If we give it to another city, like you saw tonight on your agenda, where we gave some equipment to Pilot Point, we would come back to you for that. But for regular surplusing and final disposition, you would be approving that tonight.
Comment or question on the budget? We'll close the public hearing at 8:30. Got to do a roll call on that.
I'll be happy to make a motion to approve the budget for 2023 through 2024.
I'll second.
Motion by Matt, second by Jeff. Jeff,
4.
Matt, 4, Aaron,
4.
Randy,
4.
Chuck,
4.
passes 5-0.
I think y'all did a great job on it. It's a solid budget.
Thanks for everybody's help. Yeah.
Thank you.
Item 29, hold a public hearing on the proposed tax rate on all taxable property for the year 2023 at the rate of 0.464 per $100 assessed value on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city of Aubrey, Texas. The said tax rate having a maintenance and operation component and a debt service component. Time is 8:31. Kind of already discussed this.
Yep, we have this, these are the same numbers we've seen on the previous slide, so. We will adopt these rates on Saturday. Just need to open a public hearing to get any input.
Say I'm glad that we were able to stay with the 4.64 when the no new revenue rate was almost a 10-cent jump, so.
Amen.
Any other comment? Close the public hearing at 8:32. Item 30. Consideration and action on alternate dates for the November and December city council meetings and date of special meeting to adopt tax rate.
Mayor, council, as we enter the holiday season, I know it's funny to say that when it's 103 degrees outside. But we're about to enter the holiday season. Your regular meeting for the month of November would be on Thursday, the 23rd, which is the 4th Thursday of November, which would of course be Thanksgiving. So December, so your meeting in November would be on Thanksgiving. So we would request that we move that. Your meeting for December would be on December 28th, which would happen after Christmas. A lot of vacations during that period of time. So we wanted to give you this opportunity to look at the calendars and determine if you wanted to move those meetings or not. Just to thought we'd throw a calendar up there. That was my fault. That was a last minute thing. So they're doing great. It looks like.
Well, do we want to look at resetting the regular date before we do that? I'll say, because it might fit with it.
I mean, we can combine item 31 with it to discuss. 31 is consideration action on ordinance changing the regular city council meeting date providing an effective date. This was mainly brought up due to conflicts with our kids playing football on Thursday nights.
Yeah, we do
Which
have
happens
lives,
this time of year.
we do have lives outside of city council.
Really, the only meeting that will conflict is October. They don't have a game in September on the meeting date, which is already set at September 28th.
What would the regular meeting date be for October?
26.
26.
And then if we're moving November and December already anyway, due to the holidays. I really don't have an issue with keeping the fourth Thursday after January, because not gonna be an issue.
Patricia, do you have any conflicts?
I have to draw charts. So it just depends on when you're thinking. I mean, as far as the holidays, we know, everybody knows that we're moving things around. So right now for me to, I would have to like know what they considering. If you wanted to permanently move in, like first of the year, I need to know, so I can figure that out. But if you just want to move it around, I can work it out and make sure.
Does the fourth Thursday work okay for you?
Yes, fourth Thursday works fine. I think we were the fourth Tuesday before.
Mhm.
Moved it. So I got that all lined out, but if you want to move past the fourth
I know staff appreciates the Thursdays because it gives them time in the week to prepare for the meeting.
Well, as of next week, I'll be a whole lot more open.
Yeah.
Just so
Can we just make the changes to October, November, December and keep our regularly scheduled for Thursday? Instead of making a complete change to it,
sound like a good plan to me. I'm okay.
instead of having an ordinance, because then we have to have another ordinance to move it back to the fourth Thursday.
Tuesday.
Like Tuesday, the 24th,
Sounds good.
Tuesday, the 28th, and then Tuesday, the 19th. So October 24th, November 28th, December 19th.
November 28th is my father's birthday.
November 28th would be a little problematic for staff because we'll be closed on Thursday and Friday before that, the holidays. And that would be the 1, 2, 3. What's on the fourth Tuesday, court? Second and fourth Tuesdays are court.
Is the 30th?
Thursdays, I'm sorry, second and fourth Thursday. What's the fourth? So we're good on the fourth Tuesday.
They'll be done with. They should be done with football on the 26th, right? Or before the 26th of October. Our kids will be done, I think.
I thought there was a conflicting date in October. That was the last conflicting date. I don't have that.
I don't,
Sir, y'all good with the 24th of October? That's one. I'm not good out.
Staff is good until October 24th.
do I?
I'm good with it.
Appreciate it.
Check it out there.
You got the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, October 28th, or no, 26th is Solana, in Solana.
Okay, so the,
But with our kids,
What? Jamie, what?
so October 24th.
why don't we cancel the game? I hate playing Solana.
I'm fine with October 20th.
And then should we look at November 14th? Or the 16th or the 16th?
What was wrong with 28?
Staff is gonna be out the week before, so
Gotcha.
getting agendas posted.
Okay.
The 16th is nice too.
I have a conflict on the 16th. I have a regular council meeting that night, but
How about the 14th?
It's the second Tuesday. No, it's not.
November 14th,
November 14th?
second Tuesday, that would conflict with P and Z, correct? The second Tuesday. They're on Thursdays. What's on Tuesday that's conflicting? MDD, that's right, okay.
It would just be.
You're saying no to that?
The 30th.
So you're saying no to
30th. Just trying to throw out the dates I'm good with in the.
What date did we decide on the 24th in October?
I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt. I'm only one. If it works for everybody else, y'all do it.
What are y'all thinking?
November 16th?
if you need to
Oh,
know
we have-
November 16th, then I'll figure out how to move it around.
Well, we could do it on the 30th.
I was happy with the 30th.
16th or 30th is good with me.
Yeah.
I'm free on the 30th. It's just the 16th, but I can move. I can try and move things around.
30th would work.
The
I'm good
30th?
with that.
All right.
Okay, sounds good.
30th, okay. And then December 21st.
Yeah, we're looking at the 19th, right? Would y'all- that's what I'm ready for.
Thursday before Christmas.
12/21.
I'm fine with that. I'm good with that.
It'll work for me, whatever.
There's the 21st.
That's the third Thursday. I have a regular meeting that night. But I don't know that they're gonna have that meeting, actually. Because they
come
might
here and have
not.
a
They
hearing.
normally try to cancel that second one in December. They normally just have one, so. I've not heard yet on that one.
Well, maybe we
But-
can
The
wait and
19th.
see until
Eh,
next meeting to change it until she.
The 19th, which is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine for me. 12/19th,
That would
I'm
be
clear.
third Tuesday. Staff is okay with the 19th.
Yeah, January 4th are the same, right?
It's too far away.
I like Thursdays because let me mess up my week.
Yeah. Staff prefers Thursday. It is, since council made that change, it has really helped us a lot. Because we can get prepared during the week.
So do we need to like make a motion to change our regularly scheduled meetings?
Yeah, go ahead and just make the motion to change the dates to the October 24th, November 30th, and December 19th. Is that what we landed on? Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjust our meetings in October, November, and December to October 24th, November 30th, and December 19th.
I'll second.
Somebody here and talk about Chuck on there. How does there? Your enthusiasm can't raise there, man.
It's like, good thing I don't want to change it.
We said it, yeah.
Yeah. Consideration and action on ordinance repealing Division 2 curfew of Article 8.02 minors of Chapter 8 offenses and nuisances of the Code of Ordinances to repeal regulations imposing a curfew on persons under the age of 18 and the associated criminal penalty and providing an effective date.
He's still putting in calendar dates.
Keep checking those dates. The legislature passed that bill requiring cities to repeal their ordinances for curfew can no longer be in effect. So this is in response to that HB. I think it was 1819. I'm not happy about it, but it's gonna affect how law enforcement addresses children after midnight.
Roaming.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem, but it is what it is, and we will give our input in the next legislative session. Hopefully they'll reconsider.
I'll make a motion to repeal ordinance Division 2 curfew of Article 802 minors of Chapter 8 offenses and nuisance of the Code of Ordinances. To repeal regulations imposing a curfew on persons under the age of 18 and the associated criminal penalty and providing an effective date.
I'll reluctantly second that.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah.
Motion by Aaron, a reluctant second by Chuck on there. I was there. Reluctant vote.
Well,
Advisory board reports, we'll hold that till after executive session. Department updates.
Weather radio.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We've talked about it the last couple of meetings, but I finally got information back from Midland Weather Radios. And so I have some details there and just would like to discuss, what direction you'd like us to move going forward. So one of the ideas that the city manager and I have talked about is the inadequacy of outdoor warning sirens and what possible options the city could put in place to enhance alert of severe weather and other natural and man-made issues. And so the thought came, why don't we just get a weather radio for every house and see what that would cost, and we'll just issue them. And that way they're guaranteed to get better information than what you would get from the outdoor siren. And they would cover any type of alert that the county would like to push out, or the state or the federal government. So I reached out to one of the largest producers of weather radios, Midland Radio. They're familiar with projects like this, and so they were very quick to offer their assistance. And so they've quoted the Midland 120 weather radio, which retails for about $40 to $50. And they've offered it to us at $26.16 per unit. Or if we want to upgrade to pre-programmed and with a logo of the city on the radio and the batteries installed, it's $29.16 a unit. So the batteries come with the radios regardless. If they don't touch them, they come on a different pallet than the radios. But the pre-programming sets our county and the surrounding counties. So you only get alerts specific to your area. If you get it unprogrammed, it's not terribly hard to do, but you have to program it yourself if you want to limit what you get. The ordering time is very, very quick, 3 to 5 days to get them out of the warehouse and get them ready, and about a 1 to 2 week delivery from the time we issued the purchase order. So to put it into perspective, if you estimate about 3,000 rooftops, that would bring the price to $87,480 for the upgraded pre-programmed radio, or $78,480 if it was unprogrammed. I would propose that we buy probably a little bit more than that to prepare for the future. It's not going to hurt them for us to have them in stock and issue them. Certainly, probably everyone wouldn't accept it. So, we could start the program at a little lower rate, talk to Midland, see if they'd guarantee the price for a couple of years, and just see how it goes from there. But we could do community distribution or some of our popular events, offer them. And then there's some other incentives that we could offer, a free home inspection, safety inspection, things like that to try to help increase demand. But that's what I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about them or their capabilities.
We looked into grant money for.
I haven't gone that route. I can certainly look and see what's available there.
Probably grant up there for that.
There might be. It could go into hazard mitigation, but that plan's just been rewritten, so it'd be 5 years before they go through that process again. That'd probably be most applicable. But we'd have to wait a while to get it in there. But I can certainly look and see what's available there. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. It's too long.
I have a couple items for you tonight. The street project update. Just wanted to give you a little information on it. We're still looking at another 3 to 4 weeks before it's finished. The next process will be Nick Court, Ridgecrest Court, Holly Court, Glenview Court, and Meadowview Court. 2 days on each of those, doing the road stabilization. Then we'll move into the final paving of all of the streets. Other update I have for you is on the Faulkner Well. We have been able to put in a temporary flush pump to flush the well after the repairs were made and the camera work was done. The next step, the Tuesday after Labor Day, we should have a temporary pump that we can put in service, pumping about 300 gallons a minute while we're waiting on our final pump to be manufactured. Probably be towards the end of the year before it comes in. That'll get us back up to our 550 gallons a minute on it. So we're pumping a lot of water, but we're maintaining with what we have. Anything else?
Pray for rain.
Yes, please pray for rain.
I have to say, good job on keeping up with the flow on that, even though the issues we've had, and the city of Aubrey hasn't had to implement any water restrictions this year, even with this heat. So
Our staff has been manually operating the system so that we could maintain without that other well. So they put a lot of extra time in just watching the SCADA system from home, making sure everything's looking great.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, Council, thank you very much for allowing me your precious time. As you know, this is my last final employment date with the city of Auburn. I want to start up by saying thank you again for allowing me to serve you all and the citizens as well. I'm blessed to share with you today. We have made an offer for my successor. That person's going through our background check processes right now. It is, as we're processing, very successful. With all goes well, this person will start their position on September 11th also as well. I know the process started up with over 170 candidates, brought it down to 14, down to the final 3. And through an interview process, she was the unanimous decision of that person. We're very blessed to go ahead and bring her on board. And I know I will be here a couple of more times to help in her transitioning, to make certain that she has a successful process starting up with the city of Auburn. Again, thank you very much for allowing me to serve you.
Thank you for your. We thank you for handling this transition. It's beyond what you even offered.
Thank you, AJ. We've worked together for a year now, and I really appreciate everything you've done. You have ratcheted up our reputation with applicants. I was speaking with another city manager recently, and they were talking about how we do our hiring and how we contact people. And I told them about AJ and how he begins that family process immediately for applicants. And we have had applicants that didn't get the job that compliment us and compliment AJ on what he does and how he treats them. So thank you very much. I hope your successor is just as successful as you at doing that, because it has really helped us with our reputation in the workplace. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Future agenda request, council members, staff, or citizens can request items to be included on the future agenda. Discussion is limited to what the request is for and if and when the item can be placed on the agenda. Anything? Okay, executive session. In accordance with Texas Government Code, section 551001, et sec, the city council will recess into executive session. Discuss the following. Section 551071, 1 and 2, consultation with an attorney for interlocal agreements with the Denton County Freshwater Supply District. Section 551072, real property. Land acquisition, project 38, land acquisition, project 25, land acquisition downtown, land acquisition, Lynn Ridge Municipal Project, and FM 428 track. And section 551.0712 and 551.074 personnel matters, city manager, goal setting, and municipal development district board members.
Mayor, I move that we move into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Randy, all in favor? 5-0. Time is 8:52. Time is time to stand.
Mike. Did y'all sign the check? Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay, we'll reconvene into open session. Time is 10:34. We're gonna go back to advisory board reports. Item 33, Aubrey Municipal Development District Board. Consideration action on removing, appointing, and reappointing members to the Aubrey Municipal Development District Board.
All right. I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Johnny Bergeron, place 5, to appoint Mike Browning to place 5, to reappoint Holly Drew to place 6 and Carolyn Cashin to place 7, and to direct the city manager to provide notice as discussed in closed session.
I'll second.
Motion on Aaron, second on Jeff, all in favor? On that. 4-1. All right. Charles, you want to address the interlocal agreement with the freshwater supply district?
Mayor and council members, in July of this year, Chief Slaughter for the city of Aubrey submitted a budget that contained an increase in the monthly cost per full-time equivalent employees to serve the Denton County Freshwater Supply Districts number 8A, 8B, 11A, 11B, and 11C, along with Denton County number 10, which is the Elm Ridge WCID. And over the course of the last few weeks, each of these districts have taken action to deny the requested annual adjustment. The net result is that the districts have not agreed to the requested annual increase that we provided.
Mayor, I move to continue to provide services under the Fire Protection Services Agreement between the city and Denton County Freshwater Districts 8A, 8B, Denton number 10, Elm Ridge, WCID Districts 11A, 11B, and 11C at the current rate as appeared and agreed upon in the 2022-2023 budget.
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Chuck, all in favor? 5-0. And consider and take appropriate action on a development agreement for project 25 and authorize the mayor to execute necessary documents.
I'll move to authorize the city manager to finalize negotiations of the development assignment agreement for project 25.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Jeff. All in favor? 5-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Gotta figure out how to stop recording again.
And even-
The two